to vote on the ballot was the name of people. In 1974, because you're regulating parties, how do we know who? What happened is it was decided that we would add the names of parties to the names of candidates on ballots. And a lot of people said, I don't know who my local candidate is. You know, I want to vote for Trudeau, or I want to vote Liberal. But they'd have no idea who Liberal was. So this would also help the public. Well, who gets to decide whether you're the Liberal candidate or you're the Liberal candidate in Aurora, Newmarket? You had this fight here, actually, over Belinda Stronach when she was running to be a Conservative against Lois Brown. So who's going to decide? Because Belinda Stronach can have a meeting and say, no, we are the real Conservative Association. Lois Brown can have, no, we're the real Conservative Association. So who decides? So Elections Canada doesn't want to get involved in this. So the rule is, the law is, that the leader of the party, it's got to be a registered party, 13 in Canada, has to sign your nomination papers. Once upon a time, our political leaders were chosen by their caucus. Now, it's become reversed, so that the leader can actually choose his or her caucus, or has a veto over it. Why can Helena Georges not run in York Simcoe? She can. Every citizen in Canada has the right to vote under Section 3 of the Charter. But she can't put Conservative next to the name. And people are more likely, surveys show, to vote for party or leader and candidate as third. Although in certain situations, candidate can be very important. So that has contributed to consolidating the view of the MP as a party member. MPs like Lois Brown, who might sympathize, or many Conservative MPs were very uncomfortable about both prorogations. What could they do? If they come out and speak against what the government did, they may not get their nomination. George Galloway had no problem attacking Tony Blair every single day because he had a solid constituency that could nominate him, and Tony Blair couldn't take it away from him. Okay, I've gone on for quite a while. We don't have to just talk about what we've talked about. And if you have other issues or questions or points or arguments about Canadian politics, let's engage them. Thank you for your
Do they do that by constitution or by convention?
That's a convention. It's not written down anywhere that the orders of the day. It's not written in the B&A Act or the 1982 Constitution. When you use the word constitution, our Constitution is written and unwritten. And the way Parliament works is unwritten. The written part of the Constitution that deals with the second pillar, federalism, sections 91 to 95. The written part that deals with the Charter, sections 1 to 34 of the 1982 Constitution. There's a lot written about how Parliament works in the 1867 Constitution, but most of it is fictional. It says the Governor General does this, the Governor General does that. So the orders of the day are determined by the government. Here's one of the things that was put in the 1867 Constitution. This is a technical point, very few people know it. That's done by convention in the other parliamentary systems. Only the government can introduce bills that require spending money or raising taxes. That's a convention. But we wrote that convention down in section 53. So this means, and I remember Rick Salutin called me about this after the 2006 election. He said, well, look, the Liberals and the NDP have more seats than the Conservatives, and the Bloc's more sympathetic to them. Why don't they just start doing what they do? You know, I said, yeah, but they can't introduce any bill that requires any expenditure of money. I've gone a bit away from the orders of the day. Only the government can, and the orders of the day are also controlled by the government House leader.
So the opposition days where they introduce whatever motions or bills they want, that's also by convention, and the scheduling is by convention. So when the Liberals changed it, you said Paul Martin just started moving around the opposition days to suit the government. That was breaking convention, but not in any way breaking something that was written down, even though convention is very strong.
Yes, well, was it breaking convention? There's a difference between what's known as convention, which is something that's obligatory. In other words, I've been defeated in the House as the Prime Minister, so I'm now obliged to either ask the Governor General for a fresh election or to resign. You're obliged to do that. Not because it's written down, because we understand it. But then there's also something called custom and usage. Now, opposition days, I don't know when they started. We didn't have anything called opposition days 50 years ago. So at some point along the way, these things get negotiated among the House leaders, and you'd be surprised. What we see on TV is them fighting all the time. But actually, you know, they're meeting all the time. We've got to make this big, giant animal elephant work somehow. And we don't want to look too silly. So there was an agreement, okay, the opposition will get so many days in sessions, and they can introduce anything they want. They can't introduce a bill that requires spending money, but they can introduce any motion they want, to talk about any issue they want. So that was there, maybe for 20, 30 years, I don't know how many. And then all of a sudden, when Paul Martin, you know, after they got elected between 2004 and 2006, your MP kept the party in power, didn't want to vote, they switched opposition days around. They've got experts on parliamentary procedure, and it says, well, it's not a convention, we have to have opposition days because we agreed to it on that day. And we, the government, control the orders of the day, that's for sure. So we're going to change them. So that's how that happened. You know, a lot of this is technical. There are very few, and I'm not an expert on the technical workings of Parliament, but I've looked into it a little more than most people. So I'm giving my limited understanding.
Would there be a way to fix the prorogation issue by reconfiguring how a Governor General is elected? Because it's kind of a stacked deck, isn't it?
Well, the Governor General isn't elected. The Governor General is appointed by the, on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. Now, this issue is in the media right now. In fact, 22% of Canadians, according to an Angus Reid poll recently, think the Governor General should be elected. But where in the world is the head of state, who isn't also head of government, elected? I mean, should we elect the Queen? We are now struggling with who the next Governor General should be. It hasn't been contentious, but we live in an age of more participatory democracy. You've got Facebook, you've got people who can throw out any opinion you want. You want William Shatner, you can nominate Mickey Mouse. There were no nominations. One of the unfortunate things I think that's happened in Canada, the Governor General is someone who represents the state, who represents Canada and all its people, and all of its factions, and has to be seen as being above the political fray. So, you know, Adrienne Clarkson, I am certain, is not a conservative, but, you know, she had a conservative government. That's her job. Or Hal Jackman, when he was Lieutenant Governor of Ontario, would joke, you know, that Bob Rae was Premier. He said, well, Hal Jackman was one of the largest contributors the Conservative Party ever had. I said, oh, I'm going to go back and help Bob. I'm going to sign all his bills. Because you understand that's your role. It's largely just ceremonial, and that's what we expect. We don't expect the Governor General to decide, I don't like your crime bill, I'm going to reject it.